Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are looking at a review of the Logitech MX Master 3. This one is quite expensive, but I suffer from quite bad wrist pain and I wanted to get a mouse that was good ergonomically. It was quite a big mouse because I tend to suffer a bit less with wrist pain from bigger mouse. I know I could have got the MX Vertical, but I wanted to try out the MX Master 3 first, give my opinion on it, and then if it's good I will stick with it, and so far that seems to be working out. So first of all, my initial impressions of the MX Master when I picked it up is it's lighter than my gaming mouse. So that's not to say this is a light mouse. I tend to just like heavy mice. Maybe that's one of the reasons I get wrist pain, but still I tend to like heavier mice. So I could adjust the weight in my gaming mouse and I've got it on quite heavy. Maybe I'll reduce it after this, but that was one of my first initial observations. Next thing was, as soon as I put in the dongle that was provided, the device worked straight away. Didn't have to do anything at all. But there was a pop-up to install the Logitech software, which I'll get into in more detail later, but that software is quite useful and I did go ahead and install it. Although one problem with that process is you have to create an account when you first start up the software, which is always a bit annoying. You don't really want people to get your information, particularly just your mouse brand. Why do they need you to have a login? So perhaps I'd suggest using a throwaway email address for that. Next, there's this gesture button, which is just here on the mouse here. You can push it with your thumb here, and what it does is if you just a single press, it just shows you all the windows and history, just that usual Windows pane, which is not that useful. I get it, it's kind of gimmicky. I can see what you are doing there, and obviously you can remap that, but at first it seemed a bit gimmicky. Logitech Flow sounds like an interesting feature. So that lets you to use the mouse and drag it to one side of the screen and then move on to a different computer that's got the Logitech software installed, which is pretty amazing, particularly as the mouse has both Bluetooth and a dongle, so you can attach it to, say, your laptop and your computer with the computer on the dongle, laptop over Bluetooth, and you can use it on both, which can be good if, say, you're streaming off one computer and you want to watch it, monitor your stream on the other, or just playing a game and want to play YouTube on the other, which tends to be what I use it for, to be honest, which is really, really good. And you sometimes have to pay for software like that, so actually that's good. The next thing that's kind of annoying is there is no battery percentage in the software. It just gives you these 3 bars to show you how much battery life's remaining. I haven't had any problems with battery life, but I really would like to be able to see the percentage that's left. The other thing that I noticed is the scroll wheel is completely silent. You can't hear it at all. So my other mouse is a Logitech G502. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put that near the mic and see if you can hear that scrolling. Okay. That's my G502. It does obviously have a free scroll mode, in which case it won't make a noise, which it's in now. But if I switch it back, you can definitely hear that. So now let's try the same thing with the MX Master 3. So here you go, here's normal scrolling. Can't hear that at all. And then if I put it in free scroll mode, still nothing. So that was what I noticed that straight away. It really is noticeable, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about how that works. So first, let's go into the specs of the mouse. Obviously, it's a laser mouse. It's a very high-end mouse. The sensor that it uses is Logitech's dark field model. Its sensitivity is 4000 dpi. Its polling rates and lift-off distance aren't disclosed. I would say I can get it about 0.5 centimeter off the desk before my movement stops being registered. Polling rates, I'm not sure, but I have tried this in FPS gaming, and I would say stick with your G502 or whatever wired mouse, or I've heard there's some good wireless gaming mice out there. I don't have one myself, but maybe after this I'll be using one. It has 6 programmable buttons, which is what you'd expect really of a mouse like this, and it measures 2 by 3.3 inches by 4.9 inches, or 51 millimeters by 84.3 millimeters by 124.9 millimeters. Its weight is 141 grams, so it is a little bit of a weighty mouse. It comes with a 2-year warranty in the EU as well, which is always nice, but only a year in the US. We tend to get better warranties here in the UK. So let's get into the design and details of the mouse. The biggest design change from the last generation is that scroll wheel, which, as I said, is quite silent. This is a electromagnetic technology called MagSpeed that allows you to toggle between smooth and precise scrolling modes, which is the same with most other Logitech mice. However, this one uses like a very sensitive electromagnet, which lets you scroll in line by line increments very nicely, and it makes almost no noise. It's honestly more or less silent, as I showed you. So how this works is the stainless steel wheel is open in the middle, and there's electromagnets inside there. In the ratchet mode, these electromagnets are in opposing polarity, so magnetic force is going through the gear's teeth and interacting with the outside of the steel wheel. So when the teeth are closer to the magnet, you feel more force, and when it's not, you feel less force. This gives the impression of grinding on teeth like you would in a mechanical mouse. But in free spin mode, the electric current inside the module changes the polarity, so now that the magnetic force is not interacting with the steel wheel, so it can just go as fast at once and you don't feel any resistance at all when you're in that mode. So the button in order to do that is just below the scroll wheel. That allows you to switch between the two modes. Where your thumb sits on the mouse, no matter what your grip is, you'll notice it will sit right here in between. This gives you free access to all of the buttons generally, the forward and back button and this gesture button here, as well as scroll wheels. It's actually a very ergonomic mouse. You don't have to move around much in order to use it. That lower button can do a variety of different tasks, such as showing the desktop, and of course all of those buttons are remappable via the software. So the mouse, as I said its measurements earlier, it is quite large. I'm a big fan of that. Some people say it's quite weighty, but I think it's quite a comfortable level. And as I said, I suffer from wrist pain, but compared to my G502, using it throughout the day for work, this thing is so much better. I almost feel no wrist pain at all. Obviously, I do manage the wrist pain in other ways with things such as one of these power balls, which I definitely recommend if you do suffer from wrist pain because of your work or because of spending too much time on the computer. So it uses a USB Type A receiver and connects to the PC via 2.4 gigahertz. It says that it works up to 10 meters. That does seem to be the case. I've tried it from my living room right through there, through another wall. It's still working. It also works on a variety of different surfaces. I've tried it on the bed, on the floor, on the plain desk, even on my furry shag pile carpet, and it has worked perfectly throughout. I haven't had any problems at all with the receiver. You could also connect via Bluetooth Low Energy to laptops or whatever device you want, maybe even your iPad, I guess it would work, which is brilliant. It just adds a bit more versatility. If you look on the underside of the mouse, there is a power switch and there's a button to switch between 1, 2 or 3 devices depending on how many receivers you've got or whether they're Bluetooth. You can configure those in-app, but obviously if you're using the Logitech Flow software, then that isn't necessary, as you don't need to press any button to move from one screen to the other. There's also a USB-C port at the front of the mouse, and it does include a USB cable in the box, which is brilliant if you don't have one, and obviously having USB-C is always better than not these days, especially when for a long time these mice were still using USB Type B. Or micro USB. So having a look at the software that comes with this mouse, often software for peripherals I find is just annoying and doesn't really add anything, but this one is quite useful and is actually one of the key features of the mouse besides just its amazing build quality. It works, as I said, without the software. You don't have to have it, but what the software does is it allows you to remap buttons, it allows you to use that multiple use over different PCs, which is also brilliant. And also, one of the things I found really useful is you can set up specific profiles for specific applications. There's a few of these that are there by default, such as in Chrome. The horizontal scroll wheel allows you to scroll between tabs, which is brilliant. It's set up individually for that, and also on Word, that mouse wheel zooms. And there's also presets for Photoshop and Adobe Premiere, which I haven't tried out, but I've heard are also very useful, or you can remap within those to do a set number of functions, which is really impressive for a mouse and is really useful and obviously increases your productivity. It also has a mode called Duo Link, which lets you use function combined with specific mouse gestures in order to perform a command. So you can have macros inbuilt to your mouse, which can also be useful if you're really high on that productivity side. If you want to activate Logitech Flow and use your mouse over multiple computers, all you have to do is click a button, wait a few seconds, and then when it's activated, just adjust it. Then you can adjust what edge you want to bring the mouse to, and then you can literally just bring it over there, or you can hold down control and move to an edge and it will switch between devices, which is really cool. Logitech claims a battery life of 70 days. I've been using mine every day since I've got it for maybe about 8 hours a day, and I haven't noticed any drop off in battery life. It's still saying it's got full battery. So it seems to be working. Obviously, it's hard to attest to that, but with the USB-C charging, that shouldn't be too much of a problem. I think most of us do have USB-C chargers around our desks anyway. So the overall verdict. I am a very big fan of this mouse. It's brilliant. It obviously has to be. If you're spending £100 on a mouse, how could it not be? So I think the key question there is not whether or not it's a brilliant mouse, but whether it's worth that £100. And I think if you are really into the productivity, you spend a long time at your desk, and maybe you suffer from some minor wrist pain, I think this mouse is worth it, definitely. I bought it for that. I'm going to be keeping it. I'm not going to be buying the vertical, although if my wrist pain gets worse, then perhaps I will consider buying the vertical. But yeah, I absolutely would recommend it. The only use case that I wouldn't recommend it in is if you're gaming, because obviously something like a G502 is probably going to be better for gaming in a lot of ways. So just if you're going to use this, bear in mind that if you're gaming as well, you might need two mice, particularly if you're playing FPS games. If you're not, if you're playing things like Anno or say Magic the Gathering Arena, something that doesn't require high mouse precision and polling times, then this mouse should be absolutely fine. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. It really helps out. We're trying to make a video every weekday at the moment during lockdown. So thank you very much for watching.